With the call to order, this is the Planning Commission Board of Adjustments on Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. We're starting here at 6:30 p.m. And we'll kick it off with the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is off to the side, so if we can all rise. I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we'll go ahead with a roll call. Jerry, would you please do us the honors?
Zierden,
Here.
Tice, absent. Weaver,
Here.
Frisman. Here. Ayers.
Here.
Thank you much. And we're going to start with the open forum. The open forum is designed for anybody who would like to speak on a topic that is not currently on the agenda. We do have public input for each of the items on the agenda, so if there's something that isn't there, please approach the podium, state your name and address, and share with us. Well, I'm not seeing anyone approach, so we'll go ahead. We're going to close the open forum, but I do want to welcome our new city administrator, Allie. This is your first meeting with us for planning and zoning, so I want to say welcome.
Yes, thank you.
And then Jerry has also officially, I believe, now you're cringing, but he has officially agreed to stay on with us for the planning and zoning position here too. So thank you both. And next item up, we'll close the open forum and we'll move on to approval of the June 10th, 2025 minutes. Do we have a motion to approve or any changes?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion approved. We'll move on to item number 6, which is a public hearing for the conditional use application C25002, White Birch Incorporated, to construct a social club and golf cart storage structures, the location existing on traditional golf course. So we are going to open it up first with the public hearing, and we'll start with a applicant presentation. So if you could approach the podium, state your name, address, and present to us the application.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. I'm David Landecker. Representing White Birch Inc. My address is 7374 Fairway Lane, Breezy Point, Minnesota. We thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight about this proposal, and hopefully I can have Jerry or somebody who's running the computer here go through the slides as we go through it. So if you could forward to probably the project in its entirety.
Right there.
Oh, she's doing it okay. Probably go, yeah, we can start there. So the main purpose of the conditional use permit is for allowing the clubhouse or social club, whatever people want to call that, and the parking associated with it, the entrance off of Dove Street and County Road 4. And then above that is the design for the overall for the course. So with that in mind, I'm just going to kind of start off with, we had submitted the conditional use permit to the city, which is of record. And along with that was a concept statement. And I'm just going to go through the concept statement because that sort of outlines the pieces of, all the pieces that are part of this application. So the first thing is there's a building being planned. It's about 6,600 square feet with 3 levels. Includes both indoor and outdoor occupancy of seating of about 216 individuals. It could host a variety of social events, and it's a significant investment to the city in this location. The facility will have service with a bar, restaurant. It will provide service for the 2 golf courses, the one that is being built, the short course, as well as the one on the west side of County Road 4. In addition, we're looking at a putting course and some pickleball courts in the south end of the parking, and the putting and sort of practice green down on the very south end of the property, off of the parking. Additionally, as was stated in the opening, there's some golf cart barns that will be constructed. One is just off to the right side of that circle there where the driving entrance is to the parking. And that'll house the golf carts that will be used for the properties on the west side of County Road 4. And then there's another golf barn associated with the building that's up in the footprint to the north of the circle, sort of outlined up in that area. Both those will house golf carts for their associated uses. The one to the north by the clubhouse will serve the short course. The one below will serve the course on the west side of County Road 4. Landscaping, there'll be a variety of berms and screening on the parking area, so that when people are parking, their lights and things in the evening, if they're departing in the evening or coming in the evening, will not distract or shine on adjacent properties. Landscaping features will be similar to other projects in the resort, such as Antlers and Deacon's Lodge, the various residential projects that the developer has built in the past. There's a shared cart path that'll be used by both the project as well as it will be available to the public to use, and that's running on the north side of the driveway. There's a golf cart path that's shaded that actually runs from Dove Street all the way east and then loops back up and ties into the existing road system that's to the north there. So that'll be available to be used as a pathway through that neighborhood. The golf course will have a lighting plan associated with it, and we'll get into discussing more about that. And it's only for the short course that's north of the clubhouse. So there's no lighting being planned anyplace else other than just on the north side of that roadway system that you see there where the parking is going to the north. It's a little bit complicated on how it exactly works, and Eric Hart, the general manager of the resort, is here, and I'll have him describe to you in more detail when we get to that, when we get to the end of this, my presentation. He can sort of jump in and talk to you more specifically about some of the rationale behind the golf design, you know, why this property is unique, and some of the lighting features. The access to the parking and so forth will be built as an intersection with Dove Street and County Road 4. And we've had various communications and meetings with the County Highway Department, and this is their preferred location. In conjunction with that, there will be a right turn lane that will be required to be built. And they've submitted a letter in the record as to the rationale behind how that intersection would function and what the needs are. So the cart path and a pedestrian path will be on the north side of the intersection, pretty close to where it is, except it won't come across at a diagonal, it'll just come straight across to be more safe, and then we'll have to tie in our cart paths to join with that to make it all work. The vehicular parking for the project is laid out there as you see, and it's actually been designed to accommodate the social club, the requirements for the social club, golf course, pickleball, employee parking, and handicap. So it's been designed to accommodate all the needs for the parking. Storm drainage, most of the storm drainage for the golf course and the clubhouse will all be to the north and will stay on the property pretty much like it is now. There's enough depressions and water features that'll be built into this that they will capture the storm water. The parking lot and the driveway system, there's again enough vacant land near and around that we will be able to develop retention detention areas for stormwater to keep everything on the property and protect any stormwater leaving the site. Sewer and water, the sewer will be a connection to the existing municipal system, and it will likely be directionally bored to a manhole that sits just to the northeast here, which the details of that need to be worked out with the city here and the city engineer. There's a wetland on the property which sits on the north edge, and that has been delineated and will not be disturbed. It'll actually become part of the components and design of the course. Any demolition that occurs will be that of which exists out there now. So for instance, there will be a variety of trees, the existing cart paths, the tennis courts. Eventually, the old clubhouse will be removed, and those sorts of things. So anything that's associated with a course will change, and everything that's coming in will be new. And then, not part of this application, but the land, we've protected a spot where the existing clubhouse is, possibly for future housing up in that location. Otherwise, there's no plans for additional housing in the areas that we've currently illustrated. So maybe you could go back one and just kind of go to the whole picture of the property, Deb, if you could. I think it was back one.
The left arrow.
Yep, that's the one. So that sort of shows the whole piece of property. The entry gates are down on the left-hand side where the resort entry gates are. And you're coming down Breezy Point Drive, and then the access into the clubhouse drive on the very top side of the sheet there. So it's sort of Kitty Wampus North is facing to the left. So that's the whole picture. So the clubhouse sits pretty much where the tennis courts are, just a little bit off to the south of them. And then everything from the clubhouse to the north will be changed and be modified to fit the layout of the new course. So that's, in a nutshell, what we're talking about. And with that, I'm going to just introduce Eric Hart, the GM from the resort, and he can maybe go over some specific details.
I'm Eric Hart, General Manager of Breezy Point Resort. One of the great things of working with David is he asks a lot of questions. And one of the great things of working with Jerry has been Jerry gives us a lot of answers, but he also sends a lot of questions back our ways, and so we've been doing a lot of research and doing a lot with that map. Are you able to go to that overall map that you just had up? The back one? Nope, back two. That one right there. The architect for the golf course was just here last week, and he's done a lot of golf courses around the country, and one of the things that he always emphasizes is spacing. He's very focused on what they call shot dispersion, and what shot dispersion is, it's safety circles that they put around all the holes, the perimeter of the course, anything near houses, and anything near any of the greens. And what they do with that is they try and create natural barriers anywhere where there are houses, anywhere, of as many feet as possible, so that any sort of disturbance whatsoever is minimal in those spots. And as you can see on the south end of the property, which is everything to the right of the parking lot down there, we left as much space down there as possible, natural, all the way around the edge, so that any homes that are in that area won't have any land disturbed right in their backyard. We know when we had the meeting at the resort and had 70 of our neighbors show up for that was something that was very important to them, and that is something that the architect always emphasizes, which we appreciate. But with the shot dispersions, what he's done is he's created these circles, which I'm happy to share with anybody and show anybody afterwards. I don't have it on that, but on this chart right here, it shows you where every single hole is on his map and how much clearance was given so that balls don't end up out on the highways or in neighbors' yards or anything like that. And they moved all the holes accordingly to create those zones. That was done for safety purposes as well. I know David mentioned one thing in working with the county. Something that the county had asked us to do was to narrow down our crossings. And on where we used to have the two diagonal crossings that slid across the road there, we now have it down to a single one which comes straight off of a cart path going straight across the road, which we think will greatly help out both traffic and safety in that area. So I know those were things that were emphasized there. David had mentioned the parking structures for the cart barns. Both of them are less than 30 by 50 in size, so both of them are small cart buildings, only intended to store 24 carts approximately in each. So one of them is a 1-story and the other one is a 1.5-story building. So nothing that's really a large building by any means. I'm happy to answer any questions that the panel may have or that anyone may have for me in relation to anything David brought up.
With the cart storage, is it similar to what you have now, size-wise?
So where the carts are right now, they're kind of scattered all over. They've been on the tennis courts all winter long. They were just left out there. We are getting new carts and new GPS systems in, and we don't want to leave those outside, so we're just trying to protect them a little. Technically, it's a smaller storage area than what we had before, but using maximum efficiency for space.
Perfect. Based on that diagram, do you think that this is going to keep balls more in the golf course than currently even?
Definitely. Currently, we have 4 golf holes that are well outside of the safety zones that the architect, when he came up and did it, we have four holes where they would say that there's a good chance 30% of shots have the capacity to reach the road from where they're at right now. What the architects always base everything on is a 12-degree shot angle off the tee box and a 16-degree shot angle off the tee box. The 12-degree captures 92% of all golf shots. The 16-degree captures 98% of all golf shots. There's always some people who can manage to hit terrible golf shots that go outside of those circles. But for the most part, that's what they run. 4 of our golf holes right now put the road in jeopardy for those shots. We're eliminating all of those and pulling all of them back. So we estimate that several hundred fewer golf balls will be coming near a road with the new plan.
So the kids that are picking it up will be very disappointed?
Unless they run across the street and grab them from our side of the street.
Does anyone here on the commission have questions?
So there's gonna be 2 cart barns then?
Yes, so one, as David mentioned, one is for the new course exclusively. It'll have our newest carts for that course, and then the one for across the road. One of the things that we really wanted to do is right now we have heavy traffic that heads from all angles, from all over the neighborhood across the golf course. And we tried to streamline that all to one place, one for safety. We plan to have a perimeter fence all the way around the outside, which hopefully will keep fewer people from just flying out onto the road as they do right now, and fewer people from getting hit by golf balls or almost hit by golf balls as they streak across the course. By putting everybody on that 12-foot wide cart path that goes across there, we can have up to 3 rows of traffic going along there safely, so we can have walkers and cart riders driving personal carts and such across there with no safety issues.
Can you briefly touch on the lighting plan?
Yes. Yeah. So, for those of you who have already heard me, I apologize for the redundancy of some of this, but what we are doing with the lights, whenever the lights are established, is we are using what we call LED directional lighting. And what LED directional lighting in today's technology is it's lined lighting to where when it shines, wherever it shines, there's a line that goes across, and everything on this side is dark and everything on that side is light. All of them are from an elevation so that they're pointed down and not straight across, which would be contrary to any baseball, tennis, pickleball, anything like that. All of those are set up for maximum circular exposure. These are set up for minimum circular exposure and maximum pointed lighting. So those, the higher we can get those light beams and the more downward they're pointed, the less outward the lights shine. We intend to have one large one around each of our 12 green structures that are out there pointed down, and then lighting just around the tee boxes where people will be teeing off from at night.
Is there gonna be pickleball at night also till 11?
We do not intend to have the pickleball courts lit. They are at the far south end of the property, so because the lighting of the natural light of the day throughout the summer already goes till 9:30 or so, we don't intend to have anybody playing after dark on the pickleball courts.
Do you have
The pickleball will be available from the time the clubhouse opens, because they'll have to come to the clubhouse to check out. There'll be a lock on each of the gates, so they'll have to come get a key for the pickleball court that they want to play. So it wouldn't, whenever the clubhouse opens, whether it's 7 a.m., 8 a.m. or whatever, they would be able to be out there. But we have 4 tennis courts out there right now, no different than what would be there before, and at least during the summer, we haven't had anyone out there before 9 a.m. So we don't anticipate to have a rush of people playing pickleball early in the morning.
How about the noise?
We're not answering questions from the audience yet. The public
Okay.
will have, because they're not on the mic, we can't hear
Sure,
them.
yep.
So we don't know.
No
It's not
problem.
being recorded.
Yep, okay, no problem.
how early do you anticipate starting for the lighting for the golf carts?
The lighting? The lighting wouldn't come on until basically sunset.
Okay.
So one of the things that people hear when they hear about the lights is they think the lights are just going to be on all the time. But we're looking at a maximum window of 2.5 hours of lighting on any given day. So the longest period of time that it might be on would be for 2.5 hours on a day. And this is over 100 days of a season, basically. So.
Any other questions from the commission? Thank you, Eric. Thank you, David. We will move on to the staff review. We'll have kind of 2 components of this. We'll start with Jerry's presentation.
Okay, again, this is conditional use permit application C25002. The applicant is White Birch Inc. The address of the property is 30072 Clubhouse Road. The zoning of the property is resort commercial. The applicable city code is 153.039, resort commercial. The applicant is proposing to construct a social club building and support facilities in conjunction with the rehabilitation of the traditional golf course. This is all on the east side of County Road 4. It doesn't have anything to do with the west side of County Road 4. The property, again, is zoned resort commercial. The property is currently utilized as a golf course, service from an existing clubhouse located at 30072 Clubhouse Lane. Upon review of the conditional use application, the commission needs to consider the findings as required in section 153.119E. In review, the commission should state whether or not the finding is acceptable towards granting the CUP, if applicable. Following findings must be met. The use or the development is an appropriate conditional use in land use zoned. The property is zoned RC and the request is appropriate under section 153.039. The use or the development with conditions conforms to the comprehensive land use plan. The use with conditions is compatible with the existing neighborhood, and the use with conditions will not be injurious to the public health, safety, welfare, decency, order, comfort, convenience, appearance, or prosperity of the city. I'm reading that directly from the code, so it isn't something that I made up. The following must be considered. The conditional use should not be injurious, again, to the use and enjoyment of the property. Conditional use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant properties. Conditional use will not create excessive additional requirements at the public cost for public facilities and services. It will not be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community. The use does not require any additional public infrastructure. The use will promote and preserve the Northwoods character. Conditional use will have vehicular approaches to the property which are so designed as not to create traffic congestion or interference with the properties surrounding. Proposed use is in keeping with the residential character of the neighborhood and the resort commercial character of the neighborhood. The adequate measures have been taken to provide sufficient off-street parking. Adequate measures have been taken or will be taken to preserve, control offensive odors, fumes, dust, noise, vibration, etc. Conditional use will not result in the destruction, loss, or damage of natural, scenic, or historic features. The conditional use will promote the prevention and control of pollution of the ground and surface waters, including sedimentation and control of nutrients. The proposed use is in keeping with the resort commercial character of the neighborhood and the resort and the residential character of the neighborhood to the south. Applicant has filed the appropriate application for the CUP and paid the appropriate fee. Public notice of the conditional hearing was published in the newspaper, and all property owners within 350 feet were given mailed notice. Public hearing is being held as we speak. Staff has reviewed the site plan, CUP application, and the zoning code compliance. Social club is a conditional use in the resort commercial zone. The existing use of the property is a golf course. The property will continue to be utilized as a golf course facility, social club building, and accessory structures to support and supplement the golf course. Following may be appropriate conditions for approval of a CUP. Applicant shall obtain a building permit for social club and accessory structures. Applicant should comply with all zoning requirements. All structures shall comply with the state building code. Social club to be serviced by municipal sewer. Ingress and egress to social club to be from County Road 4 and Dove Street intersection. Permit for ingress and egress to be obtained from Crow Wing County Highway Department. The applicant to comply with all terms of the entrance permit as stipulated by the Crow Wing County Highway Department. All surface water to be confined to the site. Lighting of the golf course to be focused on the site. And lighting of the golf course to be controlled. I'm suggesting that some sort of hours of operation for the lights be stipulated if in fact the conditional use permit is approved.
Thank you, Jerry. Does anyone on the commission have questions for Jerry at this time? Lee, do you have any? All right, then we are going to move into the next area, which is public input. So this is a time and an opportunity for those that are here. If you'd like to share some thoughts, feel free to approach the podium, state your name and address, share your thoughts, share your questions. If needed, we may ask the applicant to come up to address some of those questions at the end, but during this phase, we're just going to take thoughts and questions in general. So feel free to approach the podium.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I apologize if I'm a bit disorganized, is that for some reason I haven't received any of the notifications about any of the meetings or any of the proceedings going forward. So one of my neighbors texted me, said, "Did you get this letter about this meeting?" And I said, "No." That was 2 days ago, so I had just a couple of days to prepare. So I'd like to ask for your help with moving things along. But I've made some notes that I'd like to talk about.
Can I interrupt for one moment? Could you state your name and address, please, for the record?
I'm so sorry. Yes,
Thank you.
my name is Cassius McChesney. Everybody calls me Casey. Is that I live at 8729 Bluebird Lane, which is, if you look on the map, I'm immediately one house down on the west side of County Road 4, down Bluebird Lane. So from my backyard, just for reference, is that I can see the tennis courts perfectly, sitting on my deck. Matter of fact, eating dinner tonight, I was looking at tennis courts thinking, ooh, they're gonna build a new building there theoretically. But anyway, it's been I live close by, and I have some general questions and some thoughts. I've written them down because I'm at the age where I can't remember stuff very well anymore, so I have to write everything down. But one of the things is that this is exciting that they're building and updating the traditional golf course. It's been there for 100 years. I learned how to play golf on the traditional golf course. My family has owned property in Breezy Point for 63 years. And I am now happy to say that I have a fourth generation is up here and enjoying it, my grandkids. So we love Breezy Point and have been coming here for a long time. I planned on retiring here at Breezy Point when school at Arizona State, lived out there. My parents lived here. My sister has worked at Breezy Point Resort. My father worked at Breezy Point Resort. I worked at Breezy Point Resort as a bartender at their original marina in 1973, 74, so a long time ago. So I've been coming up here my whole life. And I love this area. And I think that upgrading the traditional golf course is really an amazing thing. I mean, it's something that I suppose should be done. Golf is changing, golf's evolving. But I want to just kind of focus here for a second on something that as I was reviewing the documents, is that it seems that we need to stay focused on why we're here. We're here for a conditional use permit for the social club, quote, social club. And as we look at it, it seems to me that what's being suggested is the building of a large nightclub. I mean, it's going to be a restaurant nightclub that's going to seat hundreds of people. It's going to have a 4,000 square foot outdoor patio and a 400 square foot stage where they'll be playing, I suspect, maybe live music if it's allowed. And I live about 350, 400 feet away from that. So if there's live music going on, whether it's people announcing things on a microphone, I will be able to hear that in my backyard. I love Breezy Point. I spend 50% of my time in my backyard looking at that property. And I have for 13 years. I've owned the property right there. So it's something that I think is important that we remember that the conditional use permit is not for the golf course, which is a great thing. The golf course is wonderful. Hey, I love it. I learned how to play golf there. What can I say? But we're talking about building a club. And they call it the social club. But really what it is it's going to be the new biggest bar in Breezy Point. It's as far as I can tell, it'll be bigger. I haven't had a chance to do the analysis, but it'll probably be bigger than the marina as far as space and seating and all that kind of stuff. So, and what they're doing is they're building it right in the center of a quiet residential neighborhood where I live. All of my neighbors, a few of which are here right now, know each other. We get together, we talk, we walk across from house to house and say hi, drive our golf carts around and enjoy ourselves. We want to make sure that we understand that when they build this, is that it's possible that it's going to have an impact on all of the residents within, not just immediately adjacent, but for a long ways away. For example, is that we sit on my patio and listen to Elvis playing in the marina on Saturday nights, and we can hear him just fine. So if there's music or things, activities going on at the new social club, is that they will impact us. And the key issue is that, will that, how will that impact us? Is that, and so as we go through, is that the type of facility proposed and the affiliated changes are a significant change to its current use. They're not just upgrading the golf course, is they're adding a giant entertainment complex. And I say giant because by up north standards, there's not going to be many that are going to be larger than that. So we want to make sure that we understand that, and that we can also understand that that will potentially be injurious to the property owners that are nearby. For example, my sister is selling her house across the street. I haven't asked her, but will she need to tell her new buyers that this is going in, and will that possibly impact their decision whether or not to purchase the house or not? That's an important question, hasn't been addressed. Hopefully she'll address it appropriately. Regarding the lighting of the course, is that all I can say is that lighting of an entire golf course is a big deal. When I sit at night in my backyard, which we often do, just last night while it was raining, we sat in our backyard and listened to the rain, watched it rain, and it was dark and lovely. But you start lighting up the entire golf course, is that that's going to impact us. It's going to impact our use of our land. It's going to impact the time we can spend back there and how we spend that time. So you guys need to understand about all the residents who are going to be impacted by this and how this is going to impact them. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily a bad thing. It just needs to be done right. And I think that's what P&Z and conditional use permits are all about, is making sure that it's done right and operated right for all the people that are around the facility. I think that, you know, the lighting of an entire golf course and building one of the largest bars and nightclubs in the area is a significant change to the current use and operations of this. Right now, it's a quiet little golf course, is that they talk about balls. In 13 years, I've never had a golf ball problem at my property. Fortunately, I don't know if I'm just lucky or what. I mean, we don't even get to find golf balls in our property. But so that's a good thing. So that's never been a question. And the people that come by, the families, the people that are enjoying golf, they're laughing, having fun. We enjoy watching them, enjoy having them being our neighbors, and enjoy them enjoying Breezy Point and the golf course. But once you build a social club, is that all of a sudden it changes the whole nature of what is going on there. And we want to make sure that that nature doesn't impact us negatively. As far as the lighting is concerned, according to the lighting diagram that you guys have presented, is that I have direct site access from my patio, where I spend all my time, of 7 of the 24-foot lighting towers. Now, I know they say that they direct them down and all those kind of things, but light doesn't just go down regardless. If it's a laser beam, you still can see the beam. That's the most direct kind of light there is. I'm an engineer, so what I just want to say is that sitting on my deck and just seeing those lights, even though they're directing down, but just seeing those light bulbs out there is going to have an impact me specifically and all the people on my side of the golf course. So I just want to make sure that that's all taken care of. Excuse me. I need to get a drink of water. And unfortunately, I don't have a computer, so I can do this all on my phone. So I just making sure I see all of this correctly. But as much as anything else is that there's a couple of, one other thing that that's interesting is that I don't want to slow this down, I don't want it to stop, but I have 4 recommendations. And these are planning recommendations that are part of Jerry's plan. And basically is that they're just 4 additional conditions that are simply added on. One is that I would suggest, and it's something that may need to be discussed by more people than just me. We discussed it with my neighbors informally, but the hours of operations should be picked something like between 7 and 9 p.m. 9 p.m. is when my grandkids go to bed. So if there's noise and lights that they can see, it's going to impact their visiting grandma and grandpa. So that's something that's really important to us. I think that there should be a lighting plan. I know you mentioned the type of lighting they're using, but the lights there are different kinds. There are different kinds of LED lights. There are different intensities of lights. There are different luminums, different luxes, different things like that. And there's also issues with LED lights. In general, the city of Phoenix right now is dealing with that with some of their street lights they put in were too intense and too bright. They actually were causing drivers problems as they were driving down the street, so they've minimized their lighting. And also is that the whole patio thing, I think it's great. I can just imagine weddings and ceremonies and things like that there. It could be a great place for stuff like that. But I'm concerned about concerts. Like, I love Elvis. I've known Chris my whole life, and you know, my grandkids think he's the real Elvis. So that's one of the great things about Breezy Point. But at the same time, I want to make sure that I'd hate to, no offense, have Chris playing next to my house and on every Saturday night at 9 o'clock. It just would be kind of a drag. So the noise and those kind of things are really important to me. And then finally is that there is one other little thing is that I would suggest that as another thing is that the CUP be reviewed on an annual basis so that they can change and so we can change. So that as we understand how all of the lighting works, as how the golf course works, and how all the activities that they plan work, is that we can adjust things accordingly and all live harmoniously in this wonderful community. And then finally is that as I was reading through the document, is the term social club is used. It's part of the PUC for a resort, commercial resort property. I think that's the right term. Is that, but social club is a term that has a legal definition. And if you look at the legal definition, you guys got people that are experts at this, not me. But when I looked at it, they didn't conform with one another as far as the term social club, what it is, and what's being built on this new golf course. And right next door to my house, essentially. So just some issues that I would like to get on the record and make sure they're addressed. I'll review the minutes. I know that I'm talking too much and taking too much time, but I just want to make sure that they're addressed appropriately and considered when you're looking at the conditional use permit. Is that a conditional use permit is exactly that. Is that it's a conditions under which they can operate this new huge club that they're building on the middle of the traditional golf course, which is surrounded by a lot of us and our neighborhoods, and we just want to make sure that as that progresses, is that it's something that all be happy with, and that it will not be detrimental in any way or injure us to any of us as far as property values, all those kind of things. The 4 things I suggested as far as the times of operation, the things that can be done is that what kind of entertainment they may or may not allow are all things that should be reviewed and included in the use permit. And then as they build the resort and it builds out, is that if you have a review process in place, is that they can come back in at a later time and change things. Because things will change, Breezy Point will change, and we'll all need to change. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time and your effort. And I have to say is that I'm all for the golf course. I love it. I'm a golf nut myself. I live in Phoenix, and golf in the winter and golf in the summer up here, so it's a great thing, and look forward to this being continued and turning out to be something that's good for the whole community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Casey.
Madam Chair, could you invite Mr. Hart to maybe explain some of the comments or answer some of those questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna, before we do that, just so we only bring them up once, I'm just gonna
Perfect.
see if there's anyone else that wanted to approach the podium with something new that we haven't brought up as a question. And if so, just in the essence of time, we'll start limiting to 3 minutes, just to kind of keep making sure everybody has an opportunity that would like to approach. So is there anyone else that would like to approach?
I have a question on the golf course. Should I?
You'll have to go to the podium, please,
Microphone.
and state your name, please.
Richard Burback, and I have a house at 29852 Poplar Drive, which is on the 17th fairway. And all I'm wondering is, right now I'm looking at a beautiful manicured fairway, and yes, I do get lots of golf balls on mine, at the house and everything else, but I just wonder, I see all these maps, but I don't know what I'm gonna be looking at in the future with this golf course, so maybe Eric can elaborate on that. Because I've heard stories like we're gonna have a pickleball court, we're not gonna have a pickleball court, and now it sounds like we're having pickleball courts. Also, somebody said the 17th fairway will be unchanged, they're gonna use it as an instructional hall, but I don't know if that's true, false, but you hear a lot of conflicting things, so I just wondered if Eric could elaborate on that later. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Good evening, my name is Paul Gertis. I am president of the board chair for the Waldheim Condo Association. We own 6 lots perfectly adjacent to the existing golf course along the existing 18th green. I'm not going to belabor the points the first gentleman made. I think lighting and sound is of our primary concern. But I think a little bit more detail when the two gentlemen come up around what does it look like between the parking lot and the edge of the property, which we own adjacent to, as well as I heard some berming around the parking lot, maybe some fencing around the property, but a few more details I think would be appreciated. Some owners here tonight. Vern, Bill, did I miss anything from the association perspective? Alrighty, thank you, board.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to approach? Then if I can have the applicant, perhaps Eric or David, approach, and feel free to share any responses to the questions.
Sure, could we bring up the map that I had up there before?
Can you use a pointer?
Yeah, it's so hard to tell what's what.
I don't think we have.
That one.
Use your finger,
Do-
go up there.
Okay, I mean, I can walk up there.
Take the microphone.
We can
with
hear you.
I mean, I do have a relatively
Take the
loud, you want me to
microphone.
take the microphone? Okay.
Otherwise, you're not gonna get recorded.
So you can hear me better with this? All right, I should probably grab my piece of paper just so I have all of the gentlemen's questions. So, thank you to the 3 people who brought up the information. I can try and go through everything. If I miss something, let me know. I want to cover the short ones first. 17, where's your property on 17?
Right there.
Here? Right where my fingers?
To that corner.
Right here or further?
The brand new house is to the left,
Right here.
Down in the hole.
Further?
correct? In there,
Right over here?
yes.
Okay, so with all of these conditional use permits and everything that we put in here, we have put everything in that we want to have. Future housing, not knowing when that might be. Pickleballs, just to show people where they may be. Whether they are built there immediately or not has yet to be determined. There's lots of cost factors that go into it. If they did, as you can see here, what we've done is we've tried to move everything as far this direction as we possibly can. Again, the pickleball courts are not intended to be used when it's dark out there. We're not trying to light that. Depending on when the sun does set, whether it's 9:30, 9:45, wherever that is, at whatever time of night, When people are out there, they've got that. They can use that. They will be closed off and locked off daily, so you don't have to worry about kids going in there and playing at midnight or anything like that. It is a fenced-in area, and those courts will each be individually sealed. So if you are anywhere, looks like the pickleball courts may align with the edge of where your property is, there's nothing else down here as far as lighting or anything else like that. So all our lighting and everything would be north of this place right here. That's on the lighting side. The high school coaches and such have asked year after year after year if there were areas like greens and things like that where they could send kids out to play. In the past, we haven't been able to do that because we only have 18-hole courses. But now, by taking this, during the daytime, we've been given the opportunity to allow junior programs and such to come over here with our instructors and things like that to use this area. The property owners who are down here have said that they will help maintain this area right here. They love the idea of the kids coming down and practicing around here. That's what they told us at the other meeting. So we've been asked to maintain this, and we have no problem maintaining it. It is obviously more expensive to maintain it, but it is something that the kids in this area don't have. During the day, we'd like to be able to help the high school and middle school golf kids, girls and boys, be able to come over here and play. So could that be used right here for practice? Yes, it could be used for practice from the school teams. The hole itself will be allowed to turn into natural grass, this side and this side, and kind of addressing the 18th hole definition. In speaking with the engineers for our project here and everything they've developed, in helping us with runoff retention and putting all the water and stormwater and everything in the proper areas, we do have the ability and intention to create berms of, could be anywhere up to 8 feet tall, which will help us shield the water, keep the water in the areas that we want, but also provide protection or blockage from any light coming from cars pulling into the parking lot, and any of the properties that are already recessed a little bit along here. So we do not anticipate any construction or building or any obstructions or anything. I'm not quite sure what you would be concerned about over there, but you shouldn't have anything in that part of your developments. So our hope is to help you protect your land in the same way on 17 as we would on 18, to minimize the traffic that's down in those areas and keep all the traffic up on this side. Did that? Okay, was that? Okay. Did that answer 17 too?
So is 17 will be green space?
17, he's asking if it will be green space. This will be natural green space, correct?
Okay, and what exactly does that mean? Does that mean it turns into hay and 6 feet high and you've got it once a year?
Are you familiar with White Birch? Do you ever go have dinner over at Antlers?
Yeah, I have.
If you have dinner there and you go out on the patio and you look there, we call natural fescue. It's about 2.5 feet tall. And we maintain that. We, once or twice a year, will spray for various forms of weeds to kill that. Our superintendents intend to do that same thing with this to, obviously, the more weeds that are over there, the worse it is for us. So to hopefully keep it as a 2.5 foot, 3 foot natural fescue grass over there. That's the intent for all of that open area in there. So that take care of that. All right, heading back to Casey's questions. We appreciate your support for the last 63 years. That's impressive. 4 generations is great as well. You mentioned a few times huge club. What? Anybody? Okay. You mentioned a few times huge clubhouse. One of the things that we're doing with it, it's listed as 3 stories, but 1 story is underground. So it's actually 2 stories, which makes it smaller than all of our other buildings on property right now. Lower than all of our other buildings on property right now. And as far as the size and the huge club, we actually have it contained to a relatively small space. It appears bigger on any of the plans that you may see because it shows as 3 stories, but one of the stories is below ground, just as a note. Biggest bar in Breezy Point, I don't think that's close to it. It's not the same as Marina or Dockside down there.
Do you know what the size of those bars are, just off the top of your head?
Of both Dockside and Marina?
Sure.
Not by square feet.
Okay. Just, and all I did was, I didn't have a chance to do the math,
Sure.
but I'm familiar with the
Yep.
area. And so, and it just seemed from the 100 by 100 size of your building footprint, 100 foot by 100 foot.
And that's,
That includes the patio.
that includes the entire space that the architects needed to know that they had to work with. So that's Cart Barn and the bar over there. So it includes a 20-foot gap between the Cart Barn and the clubhouse. So just so we have those details in there. Breezy Point Resort right now, I believe we operate under a noise ordinance of 1030 down at Dockside at least. Is that correct, David?
That's the city's, yeah.
The city's one on that, and we're not asking for any exception to any of that. What we already have in place down there is what we intend to operate here. And you had addressed the stage, which is right here. The stage is actually for hitting golf balls off of. We wanted to separate it from everything so that everybody who's sitting in the courtyard and everybody's sitting on the deck is watching the people hit golf balls off the stage. That's out to our bonus hole that's out here. So the stage is intended for that. Is there a chance that we could have musical performers out there singing? Yes. Are we ever going to have Elvis out there? I don't think so. But we do always offer the opportunity to local performers to come sing inside our bars or outside of our bars up to within our city ordinance allowed time of 10:30.
Is that 7 days a week?
No, we wouldn't. Most likely, we wouldn't have performers out there anytime other than the weekends.
Question is, the
Sure.
ordinance 7 days a week?
The ordinance should be 7 days a week.
That's the city.
But that's something that could be addressed through the conditional use permit.
And I think we'd probably have, defer to the city so we're not duplicating ordinances, but.
Okay. Lighting of the golf course. You mentioned that you could see 7 of our lights. I think it's 2 slides forward from here. Can you go forward 2 slides? Yeah, there. This was the original lighting map here that we showed, with each of the yellow areas being the large lights and each of the blue boxes being the small lights. Those being the areas that would be lit. I assume your house is somewhere over here?
No,
So,
it's right next to the road, basically.
right over here?
Yeah, so it'll be right about there.
So somewhere over here. Most of the lights that are in, I'm not going to go here. Most of the lights that are in this area are ones that we are suggested to or required from the engineer for safety, for parking and traffic, and with our ADA compliance for the cart paths and that. That's just these right here. By having the building out there, we have to have those lights. David had suggested that I mention in here that we're talking about 2 different sets of lights. There's clubhouse operational lights, and then there's golf course lights. If we're just talking clubhouse operational lights, these are the lights that would stay on the latest because we can't shut them off while we have people still there. The rest of the lights that are the golf course lights will go off at varying times as they go around. If we, as currently planned, had our last tee time at 9 p.m., the lights would follow the last group around. So as they go, each one of these lights would go off as you went all the way around the corner until you got to the end. So as the night goes on, and again, I know I mentioned it a few times, and you all live here and have lived here longer than I have, but in June and July, when it's light still till almost 10 p.m., we're not asking for a variance off of when it's light. We're asking just for the lighting from the time of our last tee time through the conclusion of that round. So that would be ideally 9 p.m. through 11 or 11:30 of the last light going off for the golf.
Yeah, so the golf course is gonna be lit till, what you're saying now is 11 p.m., 11:30.
So and this is just standard, you mentioned Phoenix a few times, so you know there's a few lit golf courses down in okay, so, the golf courses down there do the same thing that we do. They ask for an 11:59, ordinance violation time for that. That's not saying that the lights stay on till 11:59, but if they were on after 11:59, which is to midnight, then they can be cited for it. Same thing with South Carolina, and it sounded like you had done your research on it, and that's,
Well, and the city, of course, is the Rolling Hills in Tempe, which
If
is
he
now.
wants to be
Anyway,
addressed, she has to call in.
Yep.
He's not on
Oh,
microphone.
okay.
We're gonna address his comments, the chair needs to call
Yep.
to the podium.
okay. So to just address what you had said before and to say it from our side, we are trying to accommodate a last tee time of 9 p.m. under the assumption that these rounds take 2 hours to complete. 11 o'clock would be the likely time that the round would complete. However, we are assuming that the last lights for the last hole would be shut off at 11:30 p.m. That's the way we have it proposed right now. And then one last thing I think that you had said on here was the definition of a social club doesn't match the definition of a golf club. We are trying to provide something for our resort that's more of a resort meeting space, thus the social area. It's not just for golfers. We didn't want to build something where only golfers are encouraged and welcome to come. One of the greatest things that I appreciate about the whole city of Breezy Point is how social the city of Breezy Point is. We felt like this was a compliment to the city and not a direct definition of anything at the resort. We thought it would be best to describe it as a place for all instead of a place for golfers.
Thank you, Eric.
Can I ask a question, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit of the second level and the first level of the building itself and, you know, hours or months of operation? Might help clear a few things up as the nightclub situation.
Sure. So,
She has those blueprints set up in her computer.
okay, yeah, if you want to go back one more. There we go. So this tentatively would be the lowest level. This would be the underground level, the level that nobody sees. Currently, right now, you would have no idea that this level even exists in the building. So we'll start with the next one forward. This would be the main level right here. As you come from the parking lot, which is right down here where my hand is, which is below this picture, and you would come up between the two buildings, the cart barn being over to the east and the clubhouse being to the west. You would enter on a path between them, come over and come in the front door or ADA handicap ramp out on this side right here. You would enter into the building right here, go straight through. At this point, you are 40 inches off the ground. So you're sitting on an elevated patio right here, which gives us a courtyard that is 40 inches below the surface of the elevated deck right here. That's for wind restriction, it's for noise restriction. Our speakers and everything that we have inside are inside those walls. That's to keep it from amplifying out over the open space and to keep as much noise as possible within the courtyard realms right there. Mr. Zierden had mentioned the second level, that's the next one. This is the second level up here. As you can see, coming up the stairs, right here, we've got a deck that has a bar rail along the sides so that people can sit up here and they can watch the golfers play. One of our holes finishes here. Another one finishes right there. The bonus hole is right up here with the stage where everybody's watching. And another one of our golf holes is over here. So if you wanted to watch the golf, you could sit up on the top level and you can look out over the top of the golf course. Again, this level is 15 feet above ground, not 3 stories, not any higher than that. This level right here is at 15 feet.
And in the winter, is this level open?
In the winter, this level outside would not be projected to be open. Inside would be projected to be open, but there would be no sound outside of it once we get past, say, November, whenever it's too cold to be out there. This would be sealed and inside used for all of the groups and anybody who wants to have, you had mentioned banquets and receptions and that. It would be a reception banquet area space in here too. Anything else with that?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Winter uses, one of the things that many of the people who were at the meeting of the neighborhood residents that came and met with us, one of the things they had asked us for was a place that they could go and gather during the winter, someplace that could kind of bring the community together. And we've been working at various angles to try and provide a sledding, skiing, skating area, something where people could come. That would be again, back to the social club, a socializing area for the city of Breezy Point, something that Breezy Point Resort doesn't currently offer, that would also potentially have a skating rink outside serviced by a clubhouse with warm food, warm drinks and such to just give people in Breezy Point one more place to go during the winter. Okay.
I heard restaurant mentioned, and then looking through the plans, I don't necessarily see restaurant, but service bar. Can you elaborate if there's an actual restful kitchen, what's happening inside there?
Currently, we have plans to have what I call a church kitchen. Church kitchen being a kitchen that can provide all sorts of food, but at our resort, we have multiple kitchens that can make the pork, make all that stuff for us, transport it to us, and then we can create various menu items from that. If you've been to the Snarky Loon operates convection ovens and things like that that don't require any venting, no fryers and such. We would be able to offer those through our church kitchen instead of having the full fryer kitchen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and close the public input section and move on to the official action here with our commission. And how I'm going to start that is by reading through the findings with the conditional use application. What we are required to do as a commission is to make sure that A through D, that those findings have been met. So I'm just going to kind of run through those and address those first. So the following findings must be met. A, the use or development is an appropriate conditional use in the land zone. And what we found is, yes, this is a resort commercial. The golf course and social club is an appropriate conditional use for a resort commercial land zone. The property is zoned resort commercial and the request is appropriate. So B, the use or development with conditions conforms to the comprehensive land use plan. I have a copy of that. It's a public document. This does meet the comprehensive land use plan. C, the use and conditions is compatible with the existing neighborhood. The existing neighborhood is mainly resort commercial property, so it is consistent with what is directly around the social club. D, the use with conditions would not be injurious to the public health, safety, welfare, decency, order, comfort, convenience, appearance, or prosperity of the city, and that also appears to have been met as a condition. So there are A through I, additional considerations, and I won't read through them all. I know Jerry did read through all of those at the beginning. Through reading through those, most of these were all addressed in the documents here. I'd just like to point out some of the main ones, which would be sufficient off-street parking with the 181 overall parking spots, adequate measures to prevent offensive noise, vibration. We've gone through that in depth. So if there's things that we want to talk about here, we can also add those as conditions. But in general, going through this, A through H or I have been met as considerations. So having just addressed those main concerns, is there any questions or things on the commission that we want to discuss? Anything?
So I think like, what Casey brought up, some of the situations of, you know, so if you got a tea time at 9, and it goes until 11 o'clock, and, you know, what if people think if it's getting out of control or too noisy or something, maybe we could look at down the road and say, well, maybe we need to change that to, you know, not so late, maybe something to consider, you know.
So some of the conditions, we have conditions that Jerry had placed in here as options, 1 through 10. Number 10 is hours of lighting. That is something that we can implement in here. I had asked about starting time, but it sounds like there really isn't a need for a starting time, but we could certainly add a ending time zone in there. So why don't we just kind of read through these and see as a committee if there's any of these that we want to address. So number 1, applicant shall obtain a building permit for the social club and a structure. 2, applicant shall comply with all zoning requirements. 3, all structures shall comply with state building code. I think 1 through 3 are kind of all very nice standard things to have in place. Is there anyone that would want to omit either of those 3? Okay. Number 4, the social club would be serviced by municipal sewer. That's already been stated in the plan. 5, ingress and egress to social club would be from County Road 4 and Dove Street intersection. They've submitted a plan that details that out. 6, permit for ingress and egress would be obtained by Crow Wing County Highway Department, which is also listed in here. And number 7, applicant to comply with all terms of the entrance permit. 8, all surface water to be confined to the site. 9, lighting of the golf course is to be focused on the site. And I'd say those last 3, those are all addressed in here as well, but we could certainly restate those as a condition. And then number 10, to your point, Lee, which is lighting the golf course to be controlled, hours of lighting. I would say we'd probably just say until X time frame. And does anyone here, they had said 9 o'clock. With further clarification, that would be 9 o'clock as a starting time for the first tee hole. Tee box. Or for the, right. Does anyone have a different time they'd like to input or discuss?
No.
Okay. Are you good?
Good.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions, or are we ready to make a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
there were 4 recommendations that were made from the audience, and the question is, does the commission want to consider any of those 4 as legitimate concerns and whatever? I do recommend, though, that you also add that the CUP be reviewed annually. I think that's to everybody's benefit, quite frankly, to make sure that is conforming. And as the gentleman stated, things change as we go, and people change, and activities change, and maybe that's an avenue for both sides to get together and talk about what's been going on and how it's going. That said, I would speculate that this project would probably be in construction. First year of operation is probably going to be 2027. So if the first year of operation is 27, the CUP probably, the first review, you could state that it be beginning of 2028 or thereabouts. I think that would be probably a very appropriate condition to add. Then we get back to the hours of operation. That because this is a conditional use permit, you can stipulate hours that wouldn't necessarily be in ordinance or whatever. It could be stipulated as part of the approval process.
And I think, thank you, Jerry, because I think of the items that Casey brought up, we have a couple of those addressed, along with adding number 11. I would say that the conditional use permit would be reviewed annually starting in 2028.
Yeah, my first initial thought was maybe starting it annually for the first 5 years, and then 5 years, every 5 years after that. Because in the first 5 years, you're gonna figure out where all your stuff is, or what your issues are, and then potentially a new board comes along and says, nope, we don't like it, you guys have to shut everything down. I mean, that's unfortunate, but it's a possibility.
Actually, I think if the terms of the conditional use permit are not adhered to, you have the opportunity to take those terms in front of a public hearing and address the issues.
Immediately?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Could I have clarification on what the review process would look like? Jerry? Is it an internal?
I think we would do, it would probably be a public hearing that we'd go, staff would probably talk about the conditions, have the conditions been met, and had we encountered any violations.
Jerry, would that
Per
have to be
se?
brought in front of the commission, or is that something that the planning and zoning administrator would just review, and if the conditions have been
Actually, I
met?
think it probably has to go in front of the committee, because you're the only ones that can change it or make manufacture changes per se.
Okay.
I don't know if that's something that staff would even want to take under consideration, quite frankly.
Okay. One of the other things that was brought up was hours of operation. I know city ordinances has a noise ordinance of 10:30. Does anyone feel that that needs to be shorter? Otherwise, I would just say defer to what we have in the city and not specifically have to call that out in case the city changes.
Yeah, I'm not well versed in how that works. I'm assuming it's decibels. But how many decibels does a ball make coming off of a golf club, right, when they're finishing up their last round? I have no idea. But I was assuming there'd have to be some sort of a complaint or multiple complaints before they actually go figure that out. But I'm good with the current city ordinance of 10:30.
You guys, any agreement, disagreement?
I'm good.
Okay. Anything else that we want to add based on comments?
I do think that we established a starting time. Do we have an ending time for the lights? Because if the last tee time's at 9, and it takes roughly 2 hours to complete, they're shutting off as they're going around the loop, which is the County Road 4 side first, so those will all be off in an hour.
Right.
So I think the 11:30 is appropriate to start with, especially if we're going to be reviewing this every single year. It can be changed if there's issues with it.
Question, is that on the lighting plan, the last light?
Unfortunately, we can't take any more questions at this point.
And then the lights they're required to have on, they're required to have on. That's what it is.
Dave, would the lights go off, let's say, as they proceed through their game?
That's how it's set.
Yeah, Teddy said they would, all along 11, they could all be off within an hour. They'd be off
Just-
by 10 o'clock.
Just remember, since they're not mic'd, we can't engage them at this point. All right, anything else? Are we ready to make a motion? All right, well, I will start. I'll make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit. The conditions are as followed, 1 through 10, with the addition of, or with the addition on number 10 of specifying a start time of 9 PM with the last lights going out at 11:30 PM. Adding additional bullet point number 11, that the conditional use permit is reviewed annually starting in 2028 prior to the start of the season. Is there any seconds?
I'll second that.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion has passed. All right, moving on to White Birch, presentation introduction of planned improvements to the Breezy Point Marina area. And please state your name again and address for the record.
David Landecker, representing White Birch and Breezy Point Resort, 7374 Fairway Lane, Breezy Point, Minnesota. So this is a much more exciting discussion for me because I'm a boater and not a golfer. So the resort is looking at changing up the marina property, and I don't know if, did anybody get a chance to read the letter from Soil and Water? That pretty much sums up what it is. Jerry and I actually talked about this before he first retired from the city, and at the time, it was if you can keep the impervious coverage the same or less, the only permits we'd need would be like over-the-counter permit through the city. And the plans have subsequently changed and gotten more, there's more details and things with them. But one of the reasons I'm here tonight is not just to kind of unveil the project that we would like to do down at the marina, but to also see from the Planning Commission's perspective, do we need to come here in any kind of public hearing capacity, a conditional use permit or for some other reason, or if the permit can simply be taken from the city over the counter. So with that being said, this all started with David Spiezzo wanting to have a 2-lane boat ramp down at the resort that functions as 2 lanes. The one that was built there was built back in the 60s, and while people associate it with 2 lanes, it's not really 2 lanes. It might have been at the time in the 60s when everybody had a fishing boat that was 14 feet and only 3 feet wide. But as boats have grown and pontoons and other watercraft use that, there's really not enough room for 2 vehicles to go in side by side very safely. They do it occasionally, but most often not. So it kind of bogs down that area. So we started our initial conversations with the DNR, and the DNR brought us to their planning process and showed that if you have an area where there's like a more public use launch, that we could actually use their sort of design as a two ramp launch. And if you are familiar with the area, an easy one to look at would be on Halverson Bay on Pelican Lake. There's a 2-boat launch. There's one on Gull Lake. There's quite a few of them around the area. And what they consist of is 40 feet wide. So the one we have out there now is 30. So we're increasing that footprint by 10 feet to put in the 2 ramps. So as we communicated with the DNR, one of the observations that I had made and suggested to him was that when it rains, all the water from the city street up the hill by the stop sign, all the way down to this property, comes down into that parking lot and funnels right down the ramp. I mean, you could put a bobber and watch it actually find its way right into the lake. And so the DNR and I looked at it, and he said, well, have you ever thought about communicating with Soil and Water and see what kind of opportunities they might come up with that could help you protect the shoreline as well as create a stormwater buffer management plan along that shoreline. So we hadn't, so we did make that contact, and they came up with an engineered plan that's sort of like a drain field. The water would come down the parking lot. We would have a gutter across our ramp. It would gutter down into the sort of cisterns or drain field tanks, and then go into this, what I'll call a little park area now. Instead of the parking that is out there now, that would all become grass and lawn. The boardwalk that travels the front of the marina now would go away. That would be gone, and it would be rock riprap down to the shoreline to stabilize that front. And then we would just have two sidewalks that would, concrete sidewalks that would go over the top of that with culverts underneath them to get to our associated marina docks. And so we've looked at that, and it's all very expensive. The initial launch is expensive. The change to go to the stormwater plan is expensive, and none of it's required. The DNR has said you can just put in the 40-foot ramp and just leave things as they are. But I think that the resort is saying, hey, being good stewards, looking at this, sort of improving the area, we can, make this beneficial for all parties. As we continue to look at it, then we look at where the little boathouse is now, where they operate out of for the pontoon rentals and so forth. And the docks there are dilapidated and heaving from ice and age, etc. And so that part of the plan would be to renovate that as well and to put in a new dock system there, all meeting the DNR's codes and standards. So we have a plan that's sort of laid out in there. Soil and Water is going to contribute some funds. We're going to check in with some other stakeholders as well to see if there's any interest in participating financially to put this together. But the overall project cost is nearly $500,000 to do this whole renovation. We wouldn't be redoing the entire parking lot. We'd be doing sections of it to accommodate the parking we're losing. We would still capture that. Did a rough calculation. We're reducing the impervious coverage by about 1%, so it's not huge, but we're not increasing or decreasing, but we're actually capturing the stormwater, which is the important feature to keep the nutrients and the chemicals and things that would come off of the roads from going into the lake. So that's sort of the plan. The plan would be is that green space area that would be between on the front where the current boardwalk is, that whole green space there would become sort of laden with, it would be kind of like a water garden kind of a thing. It wouldn't be water in it per se, but there would be wet plants, flowering plants. They want it to be sort of like for pollinator, I guess they call them pollinator plants. Try to keep a couple of the birch trees that are there. We'd try to work around those during construction, but there'd be a few trees replanted in that area, but it wouldn't be an area that we would mow. It wouldn't be an area that we would be establishing picnic tables and things like that. It would be pretty much left in more of a natural state. We might weed whip it in the fall and in the spring just to kind of, clean it up, but then let the seeds and things regenerate and grow back in there again. So we're thinking it would be sort of a beautiful area once it was complete next to the lake. And I kind of, if you try to look at it, if you go down to the little park that they built down on the lake, that's on what would be the east side of the resort. The park there, the Soil and Water came in there and did a similar thing about 10 or 15 years ago. It would be something similar to that when it was all said and done. If you look forward 5 years from now, you would see the vegetation kinds of plants that they've got in there now would be similar to what you see at that location. So again, I think one of the things reason I'm here today is to answer any questions you might have specifically about what this plan entails or what it might look like. But how would you see the permitting process moving forward from this point? We have a permit from the DNR already for the boat launch. They've already approved us building or improving the docks along the boathouse because they're within their 8-foot limits. So we're not doing anything outside of what their normal requirements, regulations would be. Same thing with the rock riprap along the front of the land where the stormwater facility would be. That's all DNR approved as well. So the DNR is sort of like given us approval to do that project. Soil and Water has come in and helped us create a plan that works. And so we're in front of you sort of asking what would the next step be with the city?
From my perspective, I am looking at this more as a rehabilitation of an existing area. The biggest concern that staff would have would have been the impervious coverage. If there would have been an increase in impervious coverage, I think we'd be working through some issues that need to get taken care of. But the fact that it's being reduced, I'm looking at this as a maintenance type thing more than anything else. And I don't see it being more than an over-the-counter permit.
With the structure of the station there, is there anything, Jerry, that you would see that we have to address there if there's any building updates? Is that anything because of the proximity to the water that we have to address?
As far as buildings, structures, if they are too close to the water, but they're existing and they're being rehabilitated on the same footprint, that would be an over-the-counter type thing. If in fact they were proposing to add on to some of those structures, then we'd be in front of you with variance applications, et cetera.
Is there anything that you're thinking you might
We're not,
expand upon?
yeah,
Or
at this point, we're not looking at doing any extensions to the building or even changing the building itself. The only thing that could change is once we pull that dock out of there, if there's some structural event going on the front side of it, we would, need to maintain that, but we'd probably stop in and see your staff before, if we notice that needs to be taken care of. So no, nothing new with the building. I think as Jerry said, if the building were ever need to be replaced or modified to be larger in some scope, we would be back before you with a much more complicated application.
okay.
I think overall it's beneficial to everybody. The resort itself, obviously, and the citizens of Breezy Point and all the people that use Pelican Lake by capturing all the storm water. I mean, that's the goal, right? Is to keep all that out of the water, and that's not what has been done since however long that has been there, and now they're gonna, invest money into being good stewards of the land, and I'm all for it.
I echo that. I think that's amazing that you're actually looking at that from a different perspective of stewards of the lake and not just a business perspective. I mean, that's commendable, highly commendable, especially with a price tag of potentially $500,000. So, does anyone have concerns?
I'm recalling that I don't think we were involved in approving the city's renovation of its launch area. Am I correct, Jerry?
Yeah, it may have been before my time.
Really?
Actually,
Okay.
I don't remember being involved in any of.
City got a
That-
grant
that-
and did many of the things that David is describing at that launch area. And I don't recall that we were involved in approving it.
Well, it sounds like you have a green light to go ahead with the over-the-counter process.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to item 8, which is Scott V's request to unconsolidate lots 17 and 18, Block 2, Breezy Point Estates, southwest intersection of North Drive and North Lakeview Drive. So we will start with we'll open the public hearing, we'll invite the applicant to the podium.
Chair?
Yes.
This is not really a public hearing. This is basically to introduce the issue
Gotcha.
and
Review the
basically
request.
I don't expect any action to happen this evening. I think Mr. V is trying to gauge whether what he's proposing is something that might be considered in the past without any guarantees. But he doesn't want to incur some costs that he's going to have to do, which would be a survey, unless there would be a sounding that the commission may look at this in the future. Is that fair? Fair.
Perfect. Then I am not opening a public hearing, and I'm just going to listen to you talk.
I'm Scott
Thank
Reed,
you.
8922 North Drive, and I own the property across the street from me, which is 8931 North Drive. And that lot that parcel has 2 lots, Lot 17 and Lot 18 of Breezy Point Estates. And 30 years ago, a previous owner had combined that and made it one parcel. So I talked to Maggie at Crow Wing County Land Services, and she said, with the approval of the planning and zoning here in Breezy, just an email that says she can go ahead and put that property line back between Lot 17 and Lot 18, she would have no problem with that. The problem is, there's a garage, a non-conforming garage on Lot 17. And the intentions is for me to sell Lot 17. I've been mowing and maintaining that lot for 7 years now, and it's like, okay, time to get rid of it. So anyway, that garage, the new owner, when he brings his equipment in to do the foundation, would eliminate that garage, take it out, get rid of it. On the property line, there's also a 8x12 utility shed. Not an issue, I would take care of that myself, that would be out of there. And if that line was to drop back in, the home on Lot 18, which I want to retain, and the garage on Lot 18, which I would retain, that garage only has a 22-foot driveway from the street. So I would need an after-the-fact variance on that. And otherwise, all the setbacks would be conforming. I would be 10 feet off the line with the garage that's, the one I'm retaining, off the line to the Lot 17, I'd be 10 feet off that. And all this would be based on a survey, which I believe I'm within a foot or two with my app on my phone. I can get pretty close to the pins, and I don't see a problem that the survey will just dial it in better. But before I do that, I just want to make sure that that garage has been there for 60 years, really. Is that going to be an issue?
Madam Chair, is this Seward?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the lot right by the boat landing for the North Shore access, or North Drive access. So the property is directly, it's a corner lot right by the access, and then that's vacant. Well, there's a garage. And
Yep.
Then I have a rental property on the other part of that, on Lot 18, which I'd be retaining, so.
Madam Chair, just an aside from what Mr. Zirden has asked the question about sewer, if in fact this were not sewered,
Won't be able to build on
municipal, we wouldn't even be talking.
No,
Right.
I understand that.
I just wanted clarification for myself.
It's a 0.28 acre lot.
Yep.
Each lot would turn into a 0.28 acre.
So basically that garage on 18 is just
It's
technically too close to the street.
22 feet, which is non-conforming to the roadway, to North Drive. So that would be the issue, and I'm not gonna move that, I mean, and 4 feet behind that is a crowing light pole, and so, I mean, there's a lot more to moving that garage than just push it back.
I think it's easy to talk in the abstract, but I think you really need to see a survey and show what that would be and what those results would be. I think the biggest concern is, if by allowing a non-consolidation like this, would be creating some non-conforming uses, and that would be the biggest issue. We really won't know that until we see a survey.
Yeah, I think it would be just one non-conforming, because the shed, the garage, that would be gone. So it would just be one garage that's got a 22-foot driveway, would be the only thing left on the property that would be an issue.
There really isn't any indication in the property file that there were ever any permits other than for the house.
All right. Well, the previous owner, I don't know, 30-some years ago, combined them 2 lots. I'm just looking to go back to the original property line.
So just making sure I'm understanding. So the idea would be kind of theoretically where that line is to basically split the 2 lots. You'd sell one of the lots.
Yep.
So one of my concerns would be having the garage that removed prior to sale, because otherwise then we are selling a property with something that doesn't have a building up to, because we in Breezy Point don't have lots that just have garages unless there is a, certain condition. So I guess my first thought was that would be creating an issue, and I would be leaning more towards, if that were something that surveys came back, everything looked good, having prior to sale, the garage would have to be removed, so it doesn't create an issue for the new owner to have to approve for a variance that, we're creating, basically. And then the existing garage, so as I understand it, it's just too close currently, so that would be.
But it's been there for, like I say, 60 years. So
Okay.
Not that that matters, but.
And we don't have a permit on file or anything that we can tell for,
It's an illegal structure as we speak.
yeah, okay.
Right, and that's why I'm here, so.
And I guess I'm kind of leaning towards, get the survey if you feel pretty confident that the setbacks and things are being met. I think from my personal perspective, not speaking for anyone else, I think there'd be a good point to be made that, if the garage is removed from that property, allowing that sale and that division to happen, so we're not creating an issue with that unconsolidation. And then on the property that is keeping the garage, it kind of sounds like to me like, one, we don't really have documentation to know if it was approved or not approved, but there's a light pole behind it, which is a condition that is not under your control to be able to change. So it was not a condition brought on by the property owner, which is one of the conditions of a variance. So I'm kind of leaning towards if you feel confident, get the survey, as long as you're also feeling confident you would remove that garage prior to sale, so we don't create an issue for a potential buyer then that's out of compliance.
And I guess the reason I said the buyer has his own equipment. Unfortunately, that's, I'll have to talk to him about coming in early.
Does anyone have other thoughts or?
No, I think that all makes sense.
Are you guys
I
thinking?
agree with
Okay.
you.
Is that enough information for you to feel
Yeah.
comfortable? Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that if there was absolutely no way to get a variance on that one garage, then I wouldn't even.
Perfect.
I wouldn't go ahead, but
All right. Well, thank you.
thank you.
All right. We have an other.
Well, we have another, I was asked to provide some reading material for your enjoyment as far as variances are concerned. I suggest you go through that and come back with any questions that you might have. I think the crux of the material tells you that you really have to have a reason other than I want it. And that needs to be considered when you're considering variances. I think we've seen in the past a lot of, well, I want this, and therefore I need it, and that's really not a criteria.
And I agree, it's kind of, when we ask that question often, I think the applicant is also confused, not knowing what they need to supply. And I kind of wonder if there's more that we could do ahead of the game. I don't know if there is, but I know that we probably supply the ordinance as written or what a variance is required, but I'm not sure that many people understand what that means.
Quite frankly, many people that apply for a variance just want something. And they think that no matter what the rules are, if I pay the extra $250, I'm entitled to do something that isn't
Allowed?
allowed. That said, if that's the case, maybe we should be thinking about changing the ordinance to allow some of those things. But, pardon? We are in we will get there yet. But we need to have some concrete reasons why variances are granted. And some of this information is pretty straightforward as far as what you have to do to. And it gives you some examples of what is a legitimate reason and what isn't.
I think the issue is a lot of it being platted so early. You know, most of it's been platted in the 60s, right? So everything that anyone wants to do on a lot in Breezy Point is 80% of them are going to have to require a variance.
Or get more property in
And
most
that's
cases.
tough to come by.
Yeah.
And that, you know, then where's the hardship,
Yeah.
right?
Lake lots are the tough ones.
Right.
The off-lake lots are not so tough, but the lake lots are the tough ones. But again, you got to have some concrete reasons why you're approving something.
Jerry, have you ever seen other municipalities have example lists of what hardship reasons are when they're filling out the application, to give them an idea, like before they even go down this process, in their head, they're thinking, what truly is my hardship? You know, like, and I haven't read through all of the documentation here, but I kind of wonder if, like, giving them a sheet saying, here's examples of hardship, you know, come prepared to defend your reasoning with an example.
Much of what I've seen has been, we've tried to prepare those applicants, but we've got some tunnel vision.
Okay.
And this is my hardship. And unfortunately, the way the statute is written, there's a lot of leeway in what a practical difficulty is. It really needs to be.
Defined more.
Yes, exactly. But
Which would make it easier on us too, to
Yeah,
try to nail
exactly.
that down.
But just take a look at it, come back with any ideas that you might have. Questions? I know Roger was concerned that he probably didn't have enough information. Hopefully that helps.
I do think that's something that we've all kind of contemplated over a bit over the last years.
You struggle?
Yeah. All right, any staff reports? Commissioner reports? Meeting is adjourned at 8:18.